The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got ourselves a fine program for you. Got so many great topics, so many great conversations, fantastic guests coming up in the second segment. We're going to be joined by Rod Yancey, the CEO of live music merchandising company Bootleg. This is a pretty cool company. When I was first told what this company does, I was like, this really does fill a need in the industry and is definitely a value add for music fans, at least how it was described to me. We're going to talk to Rod Yancey all about it, but the idea is that Bootleg, if you go to a show and you really enjoyed the show that you just heard, what Bootleg does is it creates as a merchandise item for that show you just watched, that live performance, a high-quality audio recording of that performance so that you have this really nice keepsake of that unbelievable concert you just went to. That definitely fills a need. That definitely seems like a value add for music fans. So I'm excited to talk to Rod about his company, but also excited just to get some advice from him. He's an experienced copyright lawyer. He's worked in the industry for a long time. He's going to have some great insights to share, not unlike our co-host this week, who's always got the great insights as well. Zach Sloan is here. Hi, Zach. Is Zach not?
What is up?
Oh, that scared the crap out of me when I do these. Zach Sloan is here and nothing happens. Producer Lord, what the hell happened there? You gave me a heart attack. I thought like Zach died.
Oh, yes, who else is here too? I'm not going to tell you, but they're backstage.
You're not going to tell me somebody's here, but you're not going to tell me?
I'm going to guess it's our guest.
I'm assuming it's, well, that's good to know. We've had those shows before where I tell everybody a guest is coming and then the guest is a no-show and then I look stupid and then we have to scramble for a half hour. Glad to know that's not going to be our problem this week.
Dude, I can riff for half an hour. Let's go.
If anybody can, it's you. But I really do want to talk to Rod Yancey with you because, Zach, as a longtime live performing musician that you are, I imagine you probably could get pretty excited about a platform, about a company like Bootleg, and a company that could provide like a high quality audio recording for fans after they just see a Dear Marcia show.
You know what's wild, Ryan, is I wish, man, it's funny how like the stars line up. I just had an artist reach out and contact me about mastering one of their live shows. I was like, cool, I'd love to do it. And they're like, yeah, sadly, the recording of it is not very good. And I was like, oh, I was literally just the other day, I was like, man, I wish there was a company that would just do that for you. Apparently we were just a month early on recording that show, but
Just missed it.
Yeah, well, I'll put him in touch with Rod later.
Very cool. I love this concept. If for no other reason, that perhaps it can be the thing that finally eliminates what I think is one of the greatest scourges in modern concerts, which are the people who just incessantly record on their... Oh, yeah, Zach already knows what I'm talking about. He's got the phone out. He's like doing the thing that everybody does at concerts now, where they stick up their phone and just record the whole thing on their phone, blocking the view of the people behind them so that what? They can record a really crappy audio and video version of the show that they paid like $180 for on their cell phone. I don't like this. This is a troubling trend. I feel like I'm an old boomer when I say this, but let's live in the moment, people. You paid a lot of money for the show. Actually enjoy it with your eyes. And so if we have a company that can actually take care of that recording process for the fans and give you a good quality recording to take home with you, as opposed to whatever crap you film on your phone from a football field away, this seems like a great product to me.
And whoever watches those later?
Never. 0% of the time.
I had a lot of people. I know a lot of people who went to a Taylor Swift show, and she came to Denver, and they were like, "Zach, watch the recording." And I was like trying to look on the phone. I was like, "I don't know if that's actually Taylor Swift. This is garbage. You need to stop it." No, I'm excited to hear about this. This sounds really cool. And you know me, I'm always geeked out to talk to another lawyer. So let's do it.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. Here's the thing I'm a little troubled about, Zach. I'm actually kind of nervous about this, and maybe, if I want to talk to you about this, and if you tell me that like we need to pull the ripcord on this because of how bad this might be,
nope,
then I will listen to you. No, you got to hear me out here first, okay? As you know, Zach, we make intro songs for all of our guests, right? We have cute little intros that come on to introduce the guests. It usually puts the guest in a good mood because they don't know that they're going to get an intro song, and they love hearing them. And so we have an intro song for Rod Yancey. Here's the problem with it, okay? In the process of making this intro song, with the Suno platform, we wound up creating an intro song that is less a cute little, here's our guest song, and more of a song that just sounds like a jingle for Rod Yancey's company. Like, it sounds like we are just shamelessly shilling for bootleg with this song, okay? And so I almost think it sounds stupid for us to play it, but here, I'm going to play you a little bit of it, Zach. And, give me your honest assessment. Like, is this a perfectly fine intro song, or is this way too shameless, or does it sound like we're shilling for bootleg? All right. So, like, let me know. Is this good intro song or stupid jingle? All right. Take a listen.
From the underground to the main stage lights, bootlegs taking shows to new heights. Rod Yancey's the man with the plan, bringing concerts right to your hands. When you can't be there, feel the beat. Rod Yancey's magic makes it all complete. High quality sound.
I'll tell you what, it's so butt rock that I knew where the cymbal drop or the beat drop and crashes were gonna be. Like, I feel like that pretend artist, you could put them on a bill with Buck Cherry and Breaking Benjamin, and everybody would just be ecstatic. I think that's a great song, and I absolutely need to use that. That's fantastic.
I can't do it. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing, Zach. And Zach, like, I take it back.
That song, that band, air quotes, should go on tour with Hinder. That's what needs to happen.
Yes, that band is absolutely opening for Hinder. I feel like it's like, Zach, it's so shameless. It sounds like a really, really, like, just over the top obnoxious commercial for bootleg. And that's not what these are supposed to be. These are supposed to be cute intro songs that celebrate the guest, not a commercial for bootleg in like the most butt rockiest version. And like, Zach, I spent, no joke, like 2 hours shaping the lyrics on this, like working through different iterations. And that was the least shilly version of that song. I have worse versions, but like,
let's hear them.
I don't have them preloaded. I casted them into the sea. Oh God! All right, but you're saying we need to go with this. We have to unleash this monstrosity on our guest in the second segment.
If we don't play it, I quit the podcast.
I can't have that. Okay, so you just want our guest to quit the podcast when he storms off at how embarrassing that song is.
Rod will love that, and since I'm pretty sure he's the one who's backstage, if he shows up, he's heard it at this point. He knows it's bad.
Well, I can't see him in the green room. Is he shaking his head?
No, he quit.
Or is he in the process of calling his publicist right now and saying, "What the hell did you just put me on?" Oh my God! All right. Okay, fine.
Or is he calling his publicist and being like, "Thank you, this is money well spent."
All right, Zach. I don't want you to quit the show. So I guess we are going to subject our dear guest Rod Yancey to that intro song in the second segment, and I will be hiding in my jacket the whole time. A couple interesting stories here this week before we bring in our guest. Love to get your perspective on these. Pretty interesting. The first story is from what is becoming probably my favorite publication right now in terms of publications that are directly focused on empowering indie creators, much like this podcast. I don't know if you've been a peruser lately of the blog Passion Fruit. It's come on lately. It's a bunch of really terrific entertainment creators, including friend of the podcast Taylor Lorenz, and their mission is to create content that is solely and principally to inform independent creative professionals. And so for this show, it's been a great resource to find stories, because we read a lot of different publications around here at Break the Business to come up with some stories to talk to everybody about. But most of the publications are general entertainment industry publications, or they're focused more on like the art as opposed to like empowering the artists. Like a Billboard magazine is going to have like information about like new songs that are out, or it's going to have information about like high level music executives, but not a lot of content directly focused on independent creators. But Passion Fruit really hits the mark. And so I love their content. They had a great article earlier this month about marketing. And the title of the article is from Charlotte Colombo of Passion Fruit: What Creators Can Learn About Wicked's Marketing Campaign, the movie Wicked. Now, I will confess, I know very little about the movie Wicked. I obviously know it is a derivative of The Wizard of Oz. I know it was a very monstrously successful Broadway musical, which I've never seen. I know it's got Ariana Grande in it, who's amazing. It's got Cynthia Erivo in it, who's amazing. And I know it has something to do with like the Wicked Witch, and it's like an origin story. But other than that, like I couldn't tell you anything that happens in that movie other than if it also happened in The Wizard of Oz. But I have not been living under a rock, so I know that this movie is a phenomenon right now. It has taken over not just cinemas, but our pop culture. You can't escape Wicked references on TikTok, on just general news shows, in our zeitgeist in general. And so, and a lot of that is a consequence of how effectively that show has been marketed, and how that movie has been marketed, I should say. And so what this article in Passion Fruit does, it says, okay, what lessons can independent creators learn from that? What can obviously in Wicked, the movie has an unlimited marketing budget, but there are still lessons that indie creators who have more humble budgets can learn. And there were a couple nuggets from this article that I wanted to talk about. And the first one is about the importance of an aesthetic. I'll read from the article here. Quote, Wicked's marketing campaign emphasizes the importance of picking an aesthetic and sticking to it. Every time they've stepped out together, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have been wearing their characters' colors, pink and green. This dates back to March 2024, way before the actual press tour, and since then, the colors have become interchangeable with Wicked. This color scheme, in turn, has been consistently reinforced with various pink and green merchandise, from cordial to Crocs. Similar to how the world turned Barbie pink for the Barbie movie, various landmarks like the Empire State Building have lit up pink and green to celebrate Wicked. And because this color scheme has been drummed into our skulls so much, it's instantly recognizable. Obviously, the article goes on to say, this doesn't mean you should wear the same color shirt forever, but picking a uniform aesthetic for your content, editing style, and website will help cultivate your brand identity and make you more memorable to viewers. When I think about low-hanging fruit from a marketing standpoint, Zach, like things that you can do that give you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of marketing, but don't involve having to do a lot of extra work, having to spend a lot of extra resources, just unifying your brand across your projects. If you make TikTok videos, having a similar look and feel and color scheme in your videos so that people start to recognize things about your videos. If they're scrolling past you, then they see that color scheme, they immediately know it's you and they stick on your content. That's low-hanging fruit. That seems like a really effective marketing thing to do.
Yeah, and this is not the first time. I mean, even on this show that we've talked about this very topic, right? Like making sure, and you can dive in even deeper, right? You can make sure you, like, on my website, I have a specific font that I have dedicated to be like the font I use for things like that. But it is low hanging fruit, and especially now, I mean, you're able to customize and make sure that you line all that stuff up. Like when I was first starting as an independent artist, it was kind of hard to get the perfect shades right. But now there are you can type in the codes for different shades to make sure all your colors are exactly the same. But I think a big thing that I love about this is the merchandising, making sure your merchandise actually does that. But I'll tell you one thing, Ryan, I've been doing this accidentally for my entire life. I mean, my aesthetic has always been blue jeans, black t-shirt.
You certainly have an aesthetic on this show. Wait, producer Lauren just popped in. What do you got?
I know I have to chime in sometimes, but you have to remember that it's not just that it's a color match to a brand, it's a competition of colors in the brand. So you're picking a team, right? Like, are you on team green or team pink?
Yeah.
And so it's not the green show. It's not we're the band who wears white. It's when you go to the show, do you like the blue team or the red team? So like every time you go, they're doing green screenings and pink screenings of the same movie because like the theater itself will be themed, or you want to see the show with other Elphaba fans or other Glenda fans. And it's like they did with what's the one I never saw, but everybody else did with the twinkly people that are vampires? Twilight. Thank you. Like, are you on? I know. I'm under a rock.
We have to do a segment on Break the Business where we have to name that movie based on Lauren's ridiculous descriptions of the movies because she can't remember the
I
titles.
saw the Twinkly movie that no one else saw. Everybody, everybody else saw 12-year-old saw that movie.
Yeah, that everyone saw but me. But like there was the team Jacob or team Edward. Right.
I mean, who's the other character in Twilight? I don't know. Certainly not me.
I don't know anything about the movie other than there was Team Edward and Team Jacob.
Yeah.
And there is something about the marketing of, back to the dueling piano days where it's like you get more activity when there's a communal feeling like I'm on this team or I need to outbid them. Wait, how many people showed up on the green team? Well, we better start repping pink people. Let's go. And so there's not just the color, but the sense of competition being added to your audience in your marketing.
I can definitely see artists doing something like that if you're in a band or a group or even just a performance group where there's two of you, right? Is having not just a unified brand, but as producer Lauren says, like a brand competition to give fans a reason to favor or fall in love with one of the two more than the other. And then it's a competition and that breeds additional interest in whatever you're creating.
Friendly competition, right? Like nobody hates Elphaba or Glenda. Like you're supposed to
Glenda.
like them, but we all hate Glenda, but Glenda's all right. And if you haven't seen the movie, or the musical, you don't know what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you, healthy competition of fan bases has always gone well for insecure front people. And I think we need to break up more bands.
even secure front people, okay? Like we can duke it out. Like I just saw Lawrence, and they don't do this. They're brilliant. They work together wonderfully. But like if you did like a brother sister, like even like
better.
you could totally market that stuff up. Brothers and sisters, get it out.
But outplays together all the time.
But speaking of bands, by the way, that do a really good job with a unified brand aesthetic, Lawrence has gotten excellent with that in the last few years, right? They got like the nerdy Glee Club look in every show.
Like a cute schoolgirl in her 50s and 60s. Like they dress her well to still give an essence of like that youthful spirit and the like I'm the younger sister, and like they do it really well.
Yep. And again, low-hanging fruit does, you don't need millions of dollars in a marketing campaign to do that, and it makes a big difference. Producer Lauren, while I have you here, since we're talking about Wicked, I mean, this has nothing to do with Wicked's marketing campaign, but this is something you all told me before the show, and I'm kind of mad about it. Again, I don't know anything about Wicked. I know very little of the story, but I have not. I have nothing. I got a blank slate. I didn't see the musical either. But from what you told me, and is this right that the Wicked movie that's in the theaters now is only the first half of the Wicked musical? It's only up to the intermission of the Broadway musical?
Yeah. It's, that big cliffhanger where they leave you hanging, and now they're going to leave you hanging for like 2 years.
Can I just say, I
really
hate
upsetting.
that.
It's not happy ending either, because like like something needs to happen. You're really left hanging.
I mean, do you all agree with this? I hate it when movies do this. If I know on the front end, if it's communicated to me, like, hey, this movie that's coming out, it's just part 1 of 2, I lose all interest in the first movie. I do not want to, pay $10, $12, $15, shower and shave and like find a babysitter for my kid, only to know that the movie I'm going to see is not going to have an ending. That I'm just it's going to be just a 2-year cliffhanger before I can see the next one. That makes me completely check out on that movie. I will wait till that movie comes out on streaming, and then I will watch it right before I go watch the sequel in theaters, because I ain't waiting 2 years. No.
So you think this is a good marketing campaign for the movie. And what I need to explain to y'all is that this movie is just a marketing campaign for the musical. Because they've got like 2 full years of touring that musical, where people who don't want to wait for the second half of the movie to come out might actually get their butts into a theater.
Aha.
Let me play devil's consort. This is ridiculous, and it makes me so angry. All right. Their first act of the movie is longer than the actual musical. I will not stand for this. That is ridiculous. All right. 2, I remember going to the theater. I was not a Lord of the Rings dude. I kind of am now. I've read like The Hobbit. And I remember going to see the first Lord of the Rings, and my girlfriend at the time leaned over, and right as the movie's about to end, she's like, "You're going to hate this." And then it cliffhangs, and I was like, that's it. And I have never forgiven them for that. So I don't know what's worse. I want to know what's worse. Is it worse that Wicked did this, or that the shortest Tolkien book, The Hobbit, became 3 movies?
That one, which
I
we
hate 'em
can
all.
show by how well the first
I hate 'em
one.
all.
Yeah,
My guitar pick.
that one's upsetting because it was just so blatant that they were just trying to squeeze as much money out of out of one of the most loyal fan bases in all of pop culture, which are Lord of the Ring fans. And that just seems really dirty to me that they did them like that.
Wicked fans might be
again, I
in a
didn't see any of those movies, but I mean, those stories must have been so thin.
I remember watching the second Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings, somewhere out there's a Lord of the Rings nerd who's screaming at their phone right now listening to me. I remember watching the second Lord of the Rings and being like, it's like basically a giant battle. The whole movie's based around this battle. And I was like, I don't understand why this battle is important. Like, why don't they just leave? Because because of the time lapse between the two, I was like, I don't.
Hey, Zach, be careful. We were ripping on The Hobbit just now, okay? Which
Yeah,
even Lord of the Rings fans are okay with you ripping if you're talking about the theatrical release of The Hobbit. If you're coming for the Two Towers, like the good trilogy of Lord of the Rings that like the Lord of the Rings nerds will defend to the death and has won 10 million Oscars, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I will not explicitly agree with you on this podcast because I value my life, and these Lord of the Rings fans, as you noted, are a angry bunch when you come after their blessed trilogy.
Which is why I need to make it perfectly clear I'm not speaking on my behalf. I'm speaking on the behalf of producer Lauren.
Oh, okay.
Nice move.
I'll bring it back around to, everything's my fault. I'll take that. I always let the buck stop here. If anything goes wrong, my fault. I'm okay with that. I was going to say about Wicked, a couple of things. One of the annoyances of how long it spanned was because all they did was just like vamp, right? So you guys don't know this, but if you know the musical and if you listen to the recording that they released of the soundtrack for the movie, it is significantly closer to the soundtrack from the musical. But in the movie, they vamp in between every verse. So there's you sing a thing, and then because there's shots and scenes and go around, I'm like, oh my gosh, this song is taking 10 times longer, and I'm trying to sing along, and then they vamp for 6 bars instead of 1. It's spread out.
They break up the songs? I don't like that.
Oh, me either. Because
I don't like that at all.
They put out a press release telling people not to sing in the theaters, and then they had to put out sing-alongs because people can't keep their mouth shut.
Oh my goodness.
I did see that they were putting up signs outside the theaters. Don't sing along. Which I've heard other podcasts talk about it as it's sparking its own debate where enough people there were some podcasters who took the opposite view, which is, hey, you sing along dorks of Wicked are the reason that musical's got a theatrical release right now.
Yes.
If you want to sing, you sing.
Yeah. Well, that's why they smartly are doing sing-along shows. Now, the one thing I want to state when anybody wants to complain about whatever they're doing to Wicked or however they're doing it to Wicked, I want to bring it back to an interview that I heard about the author of the book when the musical came out, and they said, how do you feel about everything they changed in your book? Because if you haven't read the book, very different from the musical. The book is very dark. and goes to a whole nother place. But other than like the character names and the basic plot of the like pre-story of the Wizard of Oz slash follow along with the Wizard of Oz story, other than that, he doesn't take much. He completely changed the story. And in the interview, the author said, well, I didn't come up with the Wizard of Oz either. And this has been redone about a gazillion times in about a gazillion ways. And if they want to pay me for their version, I'll take it. It's a great show. Keep creating, keep making things and doing things. And so like whether they take the musical and change a bunch of stuff or spread it out or do it in 20 different versions, like take things people like, make things because you like them, and let other people enjoy them because like we're out there to create. And I like creators that support other creators. So like take the vision and make it a new thing. I like it.
I can appreciate that, and that's good
Just too
sentiment.
happy.
It does remind me of the fact that on January 1st, 2025, we're going to have a brand new public domain day. And that means new works, new characters, new songs are going to be entering the public domain. Songs that are copyrighted works that are 95 years old are going to head into the public domain, which means that we will start to see new works that were based on works that are now belong to everybody, including Popeye the Sailor Man, who is
Popeye
going
the
to
Sailor
be
Man horror movie. Yes.
Yes.
No,
This
why
is
does
what I
everything
want to
have to be
talk
a
about.
horror?
So while producer Lauren talks about how great it is that like creators are building off of the works of other creators and how wonderful that is, the flip side of that is Popeye's entering the public domain.
And we're gonna have horror.
And we're immediately, and like, why does this always happen? Like, Winnie the Pooh enters the public domain. Okay, now we have to have a Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. Steamboat Willie enters the public domain. Steamboat Willie slasher movie. Popeye's in the public domain.
Or
Like-
adult movie. Like those are.
Look, creative people, okay? Listen to me, all right? When the founding fathers created this copyright system that gives us like the works back eventually, that makes copyrights a limited time so that eventually these works belong to everybody and then we can make new stuff with them. They did not envision that you would immediately just start making weird slasher movies with these beautiful characters, okay? You are allowed, I've researched the law, you are allowed to just make adventures where Steamboat Willie and Popeye do stuff on boats and like eat spinach. Actually, interestingly enough, the Popeye that eats spinach, not in the public domain because the spinach eating Popeye was not created until a few years after the non-spinach eating Popeye. So make sure if you're going to make a Popeye public work that he does not eat spinach. He can eat something else, just not spinach.
Ryan, I'm glad you clarified because I have 2 ideas for a Popeye movie. Here's the first. It's called Spinach and Slaughter. But we can't use that now. I'm glad you have helped me avoid copyright infringement. So I'm going to go with this. Are you ready? The Popeye Massacre. Dead man, tail no sales.
Thank you for that. Well,
I was laughing. I felt the need to come back on just so that you
gotcha. Yeah, because
heard
he's a sailor. I gotcha. Okay, here. All right, here's where we are. All right, let me just collect ourselves here. We have gotten pretty dang far into the first segment. I still have not told you the second thing from the passion fruit article about Wicked that I thought was interesting. And we still have a listener question that we're probably not going to get to this week because we still have to interview our awesome guest, Rod Yancey. What does that comment say? I can't see it there.
Popeye, Winnie the Pooh, and Steamboat Avengers like team up.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a great comment from one of our viewers. Yes, that's the kind of stuff that we should be making, all right? Not every character that enters the public domain needs a horrific, evil slasher movie. How about a Steamboat Willie, Popeye, Winnie the Pooh,
Reservoir Dog style movie?
Even that would be, of course, Reservoir Dogs very much not in the public domain, so you're going to have to
in the style.
In the style.
Well, they all just whack each other. Like there we go.
Well, how about this? I want to save the listener question for next week because it is a good question. I want to give it the time it deserves. And in the meantime, I want to get back to this article in Passion Fruit and talk about the second cool marketing nugget that this article talks about, and it's about the importance of collaboration. That's a topic we certainly bring up a lot here at Break the Business, and This article does a great job of talking about how Wicked does well with collaboration. From the article, quote, Wicked collaborated with a few brands to promote the movie. Well, to be honest, more than a few. Variety reports that Wicked collaborated with 400 of them. The range of brands they collaborated with was vast, including the usual food, drink, and clothes, and the more random ones like Lego. Arguably, Wicked's no-holds-barred approach reemphasizes the importance of collaboration. Continuing, whether it's a multi-million-dollar movie or a growing TikTok account, the benefits of collaboration are the same. Chiefly, they help expand reach by garnering access to a broader audience and allow you to boost your credibility by aligning with trusted brands. Wicked's diverse collaborations also suggest to creators that it's worth being open-minded about potential partnerships, and you never know what yellow brick road that collaboration will lead to. And so when we're talking about collaboration here, that doesn't just mean collaborating with brands, because maybe a lot of creators are kind of early in their career. They're not at the point where they can find brand partnerships yet, but even just collaborating with other creators and finding interesting ways to do it. Obviously, if you're a podcaster, you go on somebody else's podcast, they go on your podcast. We call that in our business a home and home. That's always a smart thing to do. But you can also collaborate with other creators across platforms, right? If you are a musician and you maybe you meet an artist who does YouTube tutorials for makeup, right? You could have your music in that artist, that YouTube creator's makeup videos. And now you're getting a new audience for your music, and that makeup video creator on YouTube is getting some cool music for their videos, right? That's the kind of collaboration that's easy to do. It's not going to cost you anything out of pocket, and it's going to expose your art to new audiences, and it's mutually beneficial, right? So you don't have to do it on the scale that Wicked does it, but there's a lot to learn from just the importance of collaboration.
You know, and I guess I've been beating this drum a long time, but getting caught up in the competitiveness of creation and music is never a winning strategy, at least not in my experience. And collaboration, like now, notwithstanding Lauren's fine point earlier of trying to break up bands because you have competition between band members, but in a more serious note, actually collaborating with each other, whether it be musicians, like you said, people who are in other spaces, usually a winning strategy. If nothing else, you'll meet cool people, and that's usually worth it in and of itself.
And that's why we do what we do. And speaking of the cool people that we're going to be meeting, let's take a break. We're going to be talking with Rod Yancey of Bootleg right after this on Break the Business. We're back in 2. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Zach Sloan. And I just want to thank all of you for continuing to support this fine program, whether you're checking us out on all major podcast platforms at our live streaming home at volume.com or anywhere where you're checking us out. We're just so glad that you are, including at our satellite radio home on Sirius XM 145 Slam Radio. Much love to them. Congratulations are in order, by the way, for Slam Radio, who just celebrated their 6th anniversary. I was actually over at Slam Radio on Tuesday, Zach, doing their 24-hour radiothon. So every year on their anniversary, they do a 24-hour telethon where they keep the station running absolutely live for 24 hours, and the students stay in there all night and create original programming, do celebrity interviews, and raise money for their station. It's super cool. It's really, really fun to do. I encourage our viewers and listeners, if you want to support the stuff that Slam Radio is doing, it's an amazing organization that we are thrilled to be part of. You visit slamradio.org and just give them money. They want your money, and they're going to do cool things with it, like empower the next generation of radio professionals. And we love to see it.
It sounds such a cool thing. I mean, me, education near and dear to my heart. Such a cool thing. And, talk about collaboration, right? Yeah. Something Slam Radio, Break the Business. How long has BTB been on Slam now?
God, we're in like our second or third year now. It's been
a minute.
It's been really, really awesome. And I would say what the coolest thing about Slam Radio being in its 6th year right now is that it's starting to see its first crop of students who have graduated and are now starting to enter the radio market, right? And we're already hearing stories of a lot of these Slam Radio kids who came out of this inner city high school in Miami. They're getting jobs at SiriusXM. A lot of them are working as board ops, engineers, and producers for some of the big names at SiriusXM. They're starting their own radio shows and podcasts. They're getting jobs in terrestrial stations all over the country. So, I mean, that's not even the principal mission of the station, right? The mission is just to create like good, well-adjusted human beings. But as a byproduct, a lot of these kids are actually getting really good radio jobs, and we're so proud of them.
Heck yeah. Good on you guys. Good on Slam Radio. Glad to be part of it.
Now, here's something I'm not proud of, which is this intro song for our guest, Rod Yancey. But Zach says I have to play it, so
smirch the hinder.
Deep breath. Let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
From the underground to the main stage lights, bootlegs taking shows to new heights. Rod Yancey's the man with the plan, bringing concerts right to your hands. When you can't be there, feel the beat. Rod Yancey's magic makes it all complete. High quality sound from every show. Bootlegs the way to rock and roll.
Our guest,
That's so hard rocking.
our guest this week, who deserves better than that song, is the CEO of Bootleg, a company that captures and distributes fully licensed and high-quality concert recordings for artists and fans. Bootleg is currently promoting select concerts in the United States, and you can find out more about our guest's work by visiting bootleg.live. We are happy to welcome Rod Yancey on to Break the Business. Hi, Rod.
How are you guys?
Doing very, very well. Thank you so much for not storming off this show. What do you think? How much do you hate that intro song?
What do I owe you guys for that? I thought I was going to be on a podcast.
I told you.
I got a sick jingle, so thank you.
There you go. Well, see, now we've learned something. Rod Yancey, secret butt rock fan.
Hey, yeah.
Who
I like all
doesn't enjoy
genres.
it?
Yeah.
What was that?
I said I like all genres.
There you go. Well, as well you should in your line of work. Of course, you're going to like all genres because you bring in a wide range of experience in the entertainment industry. From what I've read about you, you're a copyright lawyer. That's a pretty fun way to make a living. You've worked at the RIAA. You've worked in software development. You've helped launch a daily fantasy sports website and a photo sharing platform. You live kind of a pretty fun life. Don't you know, Rod, that lawyers are supposed to have boring professional lives? That's what we do, man. We're boring. How did you find a loophole in that?
Well, I think I'm a recovering lawyer. So went to law school by accident, maybe like Zach. I read a little bit about your bio. But yeah, just entrepreneurship. No, practicing laws has been it's been fun. So we've had it's taken me in a lot of different directions, and I've got to pursue a lot of my passions.
Yeah, that's people. What's the secret to happiness as a lawyer? You don't practice law.
That's probably for guys like me. I mean, you guys probably know as well. There's some litigators out there that are born to be in the courtroom, and but I never. That was never me. So I'm more of a deal maker, not a deal breaker, as I say.
Well, to take something that you said in your prior answer there. how does one go to law school by accident? How does one
Yeah,
like
did you
trip
slip
and
and
fall into a
fall?
3-year doctoral program?
Being young, being very young and needing extra time. Yeah, obviously there was a decision that I made. Maybe I just made it on accident. So, not knowing what I was getting myself into.
Well, ever since then, you've gotten into some pretty interesting entrepreneurial projects, including a bunch of music startups. And we love talking to the music startup CEOs around here. They have such grand vision for what this industry can be and how it can empower creative professionals. And we think it's really exciting, to hear them kind of just talk up what they think are the prospects are for an industry that, to be frank, is in a state of flux right now, is in a state of transition, is collapsing in a lot of areas. And so I'm curious to kind of get your perspective on it. What do you think are the future prospects for music startups? I mean, I assume you have some sense of optimism about them, or you wouldn't be starting one up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a lot of change going on. When I came through undergrad this years ago, Napster was the big thing. So I got to my freshman dorm room and found Napster, and before you knew it, it was LimeWire and Kazaa. And so that was whenever my stint at the RIAA, they put me in a conference room and they said, figure out who's behind this peer-to-peer file sharing. We need to know who this is. And they didn't really quite understand what peer-to-peer was at the time. So I was in forums, searching around, trying to figure out who started LimeWire, and all the while feeling a little bit hypocritical, I guess, because all of my friends were, on LimeWire.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you were dabbling in some of that stuff in college too. You were that hot dog costume meme of like, we're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Pretty much, I mean, we're college kids. So, but you talked about a changing industry. I mean, talk about a state of flux. And you guys have probably seen the charts before, just CD sales just cratering over that, 10-year period. And so the music industry has been through it before. The one thing that doesn't change is that people love music. I mean, as you guys know, better than most, is it resonates with people. Some of our most important times in our lives are surrounded by music, and the highest moments of our lives are normally surrounded by music. So music's going to be around. But yeah, there's a ton of change right now, especially with AI. When you think about all the music that is going to be created, I mean, you all already, I'm sure, know, hundreds of thousands of songs per week put on to the streaming platforms. Imagine when it gets even easier to create songs like that fabulous jingle that you dialed up for me on the way in. So it's going to change. It's going to get harder and harder. 99% of streaming revenue is going to 1% of the artist as it is. Imagine whenever it gets just more and more watered down, how hard it's going to be for that, that emerging artist or that new artist to get discovered, and then to be able to generate enough revenue from streaming to make a go of it. So there's go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, so tell us about Bootleg then, and what needs it's filling, and maybe what role you think your company could play in maybe creating new revenue streams for artists. Basically, tell us some things about Bootleg that weren't already covered by that god-awful jingle we made.
That's fair. Well, yeah, Bootleg, I mean, it started, I heard that you have a young son, right? Son or daughter? Son, yeah. So I took my two sons. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, and we went to our first big concert. We saw Beck in Phoenix live, and had this amazing night. Thomas Mars, the lead singer of Phoenix, is running through the aisle, and one of my sons high fives him. Anyway, so we're going to the merch table on the way out, and I'm looking to buy some stuff, and they don't have kids t-shirts, which is kind of a miss. But what I really wanted to just buy was some music, and I couldn't buy a CD. I couldn't have played it anyway. I don't have a CD player. They don't sell tapes. And at the time, my record player was broken, and I go ahead and buy 2 vinyls. But as I'm, purchasing this, $50 vinyl, one for each of my boys, which is a lot of money, I'm thinking, man, what I really want is the concert that I just heard with all the banter between, the artists and the crowd. And I'd like to listen to it on the way home tomorrow, because we had driven out of town to go to this concert. So anyway, I started thinking about it. I'm like, the technology's got to be there. I have a bit of a tech background, and so have built software in the past, and I know like enough about sound engineering. I'm not an expert in that, but I know that there are digital boards that they can record really easily. And so I was like, you could do that. And then I started thinking through it. I'm like, the labels in the past never would have allowed that because they were selling that mastered recording and they wouldn't want the competition. But I was like, I think the industry's changed just enough where maybe there's just the time is right where it's possible. And so that's how it all started. So what do I think, it does? I think it gives an artist who's touring the ability to sell music again, to monetize their craft. And it gives the fan a really unique, special memento of the show. That's different than the $100 sweatpants or the $90 poster, because it's the actual concert that they heard in a convenient fashion where if they're at the gym and they want to listen to that concert that they were at, they can listen to it, or if they're mowing the lawn or commuting to work. So there's just these moments where they can relive that night, and so it's just a really special memento.
So Rod, so you're blowing my mind here because I've got a lot of questions going through my head. First of all, so are you taking the master recording from the board and making effectively a live album, or are you getting the individual tracks and then remixing it? What's the process here? Because I'm curious, what's the process and what's the turnaround time for getting one of these recordings into your hands?
Yeah, so we're taking the stems or the multi-channel wave file and remixing it and doing a master. And the turn time, what we shoot for is 12 hours.
Holy crap.
Wow.
But what's really unique about our process is that the software is set up where you create the concert, which creates the unique link for that individual event with a QR code and a way to market that album or that concert, that bootleg. And so it makes it really easy for the artist to market it right there in the venue. And so QR codes are at the merch table. And so fans can purchase it right at that moment. And then it's brewing, as we call it, right? It's a little creative pun there on bootleg, but it's brewing while you're waiting. And then you get the bootleg about 12 hours later.
So it's there like when you wake up the next morning.
Pretty much, yeah. And we
That's
can get
incredible.
it out faster. Yeah, I mean, so it's technology. Technology has enabled all of this. You all probably know, AI is making mixing and mastering easier. You still need a human. You still need an engineer, but the tools have become so powerful that a human can do such fantastic work with a lot less time required.
Because this is what's blown my. Because Rod, I've mixed live albums before, and it takes me longer to mix a live album than a studio album. You telling me that you're getting a quality? Because I'm just going to go out on a limb and say these are high quality things you're releasing. You're not going to be successful if they're bad. So, what role is AI playing in that? Like that just strikes me as amazing. Like you heard my outburst. How is this working? this is blowing my mind.
Well, everything has to get mic'd up well. So it does start with the live engineer, making sure that, everything's mic'd up well. But, what AI is doing is giving the mixing engineer, if you want to call it that, a massive head start to balance everything. It's also, it's really very easy, as you can probably conceptualize in some genres like electronic music, because a lot of that is coming directly out of the computer and directly into the board. And then you're taking a couple of crowd mics and mixing that over. And then with a little master. Some of the other stuff gets a lot more complex. The more instruments, it's going to be a lot more complex. But for a singer-songwriter and those genres, it's really pretty easy. I don't say that dismissively because, again, I'm not an audio engineer, so I say it's easy, right? But I know that what we've done, we're capable of creating really good mixes.
Okay, so hypothetically, now I'm sorry, I realize I'm hijacking the interview here, but this seriously,
It's not a Zach Sloan interview unless you hijack it at some point. I'm
think
just
it
waiting for the question about guitar picks. That's usually what we get at some point.
we're going nerdier. So like, who exactly, like, are you marketing only to touring bands? Could, like, let's say hypothetically my band has a big show coming up in February and we wanted to have let our fans utilize the service. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now we are, there's a lot of demand. So we're having conversations with labels, we're having conversations with management groups. So there are a lot of artists who are interested, and we're a startup, so we're rolling out. And our rollout plan right now is to work in 2025 with touring acts, because if you think about it, like if a fan can see the musician play every weekend because they're playing around town somewhere, there's a little less value in purchasing that bootleg. But if it's the one time that the band's coming through town for the year, there's a little bit more value there. And so for touring acts, that's where we're going to roll out. But the long-term vision is to have a bit of what you might call like a self-service platform, where anyone will be able to open an account and put audio onto it, especially if you mix and master your own audio. And then it would be a bit more like a distribution platform.
Wow.
So
that makes
yeah,
sense.
So cool.
Yeah.
I dig that. So you
I
were
just think
talking
the
about
opportunity is incredible. Like it
sounds like a weird thing, but it almost brought tears to my eyes because I was thinking about a show I went to see with my mother before she passed away that was on the night that they recorded the televised version. And the fact that I have a recording from the night we were there is a huge difference. And like music affects people so much anyway that sure, I could hear that band play every night, but the night that they played on my 18th birthday or the night they played on my 21st birthday, like those are recordings that mean more to that person than anything done in a studio. And so giving that opportunity is an emotional thing for people, but it's a value add because I might want to collect every show I've seen them play. And now I have an online digital portfolio showing the 50 times I saw that band play. Like it's a collector's item. Like there's so many opportunities. I'm loving what you're doing.
This is amazing.
yeah, you get it. Yeah. And you guys, I heard you in the earlier segment, you mentioned a little bit about video. I think you said, like, was it you, Zach, who said, you don't frequently rewatch something. And I don't know if you guys are married, but like you mentioned how they televise that concert. Like it's rare for us, or, when we look at user behavior, people don't typically rewatch things. Maybe you'll rewatch a movie twice, but very infrequently, more than that. So there have been entries into the market where they're doing video of concerts, but it's really less valuable than just high quality audio. The audio, it's so much easier to use. It's so much more convenient. You can listen to it on your commute, those types of things. That we've found that there's more value to the fans and just focusing on that. And it's so much less cumbersome to try to get cameras into a venue and all that. It's like that has been prohibitively difficult, so that this type of concept hasn't really emerged. And there are other providers in the market, but there's just no market leader. No one's really done it right yet.
Well, as we said in the first segment, if the only legacy of your company is that you can like put to death the franchise of people trying to record concerts themselves on their phones because the bootleg version from your company is so much better, like I'll give you a Nobel Prize. Like that will, like you, my friend, will have saved live music forever if you can do that. If you can just stop people from holding up their damn phones for a whole show because they know that there's going to be a high quality recording that bootleg's going to make for them. Before we get to our final question, Rod, I want to, completely divert to a different topic because I read something about you that I think was interesting. You are a practitioner of Stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
And when people try to explain to me what Stoicism is, it's like when people explain to me the rules of cricket. When people explain to me the rules of cricket, I can understand it at the time. And then 10 minutes later, it's completely left my head. And stoicism is the same way. Like every time somebody explains it to me, I'm going, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I got it. And like now I couldn't tell you what stoicism is if it kissed me on the mouth. So, Rod, could you explain to me like what this philosophy is and why you use it as kind of a guiding principle in your own life?
That's a very tall order.
You got
I don't
about
know.
2 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if I can sum it up, but maybe I'll take like one tenet of stoicism. So this is not going to sum stoicism up, but one tenet that I think is valuable to live by is just recognizing how precious life is, just how short life is. And if you'll contemplate that as a practice. So when I say that, it's like remind yourself how you could die at any time. I know it's kind of like a deep topic or whatever, like, but you asked the question. So if you'll remind yourself about how fleeting life is, then you end up living a different life. And it's not necessarily like a profound thing where like suddenly you're gonna change overnight, but it's just that active mindfulness. You'll put yourself outside of your comfort zone more often, and ultimate comfort is found outside your comfort zone. And so if you do this, you end up doing crazy things like starting music tech companies and all sorts of other stuff.
But what role does like emotion play into it? Because like when I think of a stoic, it's always like, they not too high, not too low, kind of just like even keeled, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's like finding the mean between the extremes. And so I think emotion's important, right? You have to recognize what emotion is and be mindful of it. But you don't want to be tossed around in the storm of emotions. So you want to be able to reason, right? To use your logical mind in the face of emotion. But I think emotion's still really, really important. I think emotion is one of the great things about music. It can, people resonate with that, and I think that's that artist creating a feeling. And so even as a stoic, I love to get that feeling. I'm just going to try to make wise decisions regardless.
Well, you do seem to be smiling a lot more than like most of the stoics I see on TikTok videos and things like that. But I feel like you got a lot to smile about. You got a pretty cool idea for a service that's I think can help a lot of indie creators create a really cool new revenue stream for a lot of independent artists as the vision of your company is going to continue to grow. And so I hope you stick around and, stay in touch with us as you continue to help this company reach its final form and, continue to help creative professionals. Our guest has been Rod Yancey. He is the CEO of Bootleg. You can find out more by visiting bootleg.live. Before we let you go, sir, we got one last question for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Follow your heart. How about that? Follow your heart.
That's a pretty solid piece of advice. And from what I can kind of glean, just sort of reading between the lines of your biography, sounds like something that must be something that drives you is, really following your heart. And, you see something shiny that is important to you, you will jump right to that and, not stay in one place for too long if you feel like it's not really working.
Yeah. I mean, I think, being willing to be flexible. And I think that's, follow your heart is kind of like a euphemism, or maybe that's the wrong word for it, but it's something you might read in like a Hallmark card. But I think the truth of it is like, be willing to be flexible. Don't stay in one place. Don't stay in one box. I think Zach, like you're an attorney, right? And then performing musician.
Attorney, yes.
Yeah. Recovering attorney. So like, you get it. It's okay to be yourself. So for indie creators, especially, I think that's probably really important.
Really appreciate your insight, Rod. Don't be a stranger, all right? We'd love to have you on again real soon. Our thanks to Rod Yancey and Zach Sloan. Our thanks to producer Lauren. And our thanks to all of the viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.